صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Chapter on Al-Ghaira, i.e., honor, prestige, or self-respect. Sa'd bin Ubadah said, "If I saw a man with my wife, I would strike him with the sharp edge of the sword." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said to his companions, "Are you astonished by Sa'd's ghaira, sense of honor? By Allah, I have a greater sense of ghaira than he has, and Allah has still more greater sense of ghaira than I have." Narrated Abdullah bin Mas'ud, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "There is none having a greater sense of ghaira, honor or self-respect, etc., than Allah. And for that He has forbidden the doing of evil actions, illegal sexual intercourse, etc. There is none who likes to be praised more than Allah does." Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "O followers of Muhammad, there is none who has a greater sense of ghaira, honor or self-respect, etc., than Allah. So He has forbidden that His slave commits illegal sexual intercourse or His slave girl commits illegal sexual intercourse. O followers of Muhammad, if you but knew what I know, you would laugh a little and weep much." See Hadith number 1044, Volume 2. Narrated Asma, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, saying, "There is nothing, none, having a greater sense of ghaira, self-respect, than Allah." And narrated Abu Huraira that he heard the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying the same. Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Allah has a great sense of ghaira, and Allah's sense of ghaira is provoked when a believer does something which Allah has prohibited." Narrated Asma bint Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with them, when Az-Zubayr married me, he had no property or any slave or anything else, except a camel which drew water from the well, and his horse. I used to feed his horse with fodder, and drew water and sew the bucket for drawing it, and prepare the dough, but I did not know how to bake bread. So our Ansari neighbors used to bake bread for me, and they were honorable ladies. I used to carry the date stones on my head from Zubayr's land, given to him by Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and this land was 2/3 farsakh, about 2 miles, from my house. One day, while I was coming with the date stones on my head, I met Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, along with some Ansari people. He called me, and then, directing his camel to kneel down, said, "Ich, so as to make me ride behind him on his camel. I felt shy to travel with the men and remembered Az-Zubayr and his sense of ghaira, as he was one of those people who had the greatest sense of ghaira. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, noticed that I felt shy, so he proceeded. I came to Az-Zubayr and said, I met Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, while I was carrying a load of date stones on my head, and he had some companions with him. He made his camel kneel down so that I may ride, but I felt shy in his presence and remembered your sense of ghaira." See Hadith number 5220 and its chapter 108. On that, Az-Zubayr said, "By Allah, you're carrying the date stones, and you being seen by the Prophet, peace be upon him, in such a state is more shameful to me than your riding with him." I continued serving in this way till Abu Bakr sent me a servant to look after the horse, whereupon I felt as if he had set me free, manumitted me. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, while the Prophet, peace be upon him, was in the house of one of his wives, one of the mothers of the believers sent a meal in a dish. The wife at whose house the Prophet, peace be upon him, was, struck the hand of the servant, causing the dish to fall and break. The Prophet, peace be upon him, gathered the broken pieces of the dish and then started collecting on them the food which had been in the dish and said, "Your mother, my wife, felt jealous." Then he detained the servant till a sound dish was brought from the wife at whose house he was. He gave the sound dish to the wife whose dish had been broken and kept the broken one at the house where it had been broken. Footnote: the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, were called the mothers of the believers. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with them. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I entered paradise and saw a palace and asked, 'Whose palace is this?' They said, 'This palace belongs to Umar ibn al-Khattab.' I intended to enter it, and nothing stopped me except my knowledge about your sense of ghaira, honor, self-respect, etc., O Umar." Umar said, "O Allah's Prophet, how dare I think of my ghaira, honor, self-respect, etc., being offended by you?" Narrated Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, while we were sitting with Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, he, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, "While I was sleeping, I saw myself in paradise, and suddenly I saw a woman performing ablution beside a palace. I asked, 'Whose palace is this?' It was said, 'This palace belongs to Umar.' Then I remembered his sense of ghaira and returned. On that, Umar started weeping in that gathering and said, 'O Allah's Messenger, how dare I think of my ghaira, self-respect, being offended by you?'